Y'all thought this was going to be about cats, didn't you? See it there? I just talked to a friend of mine, and it occurred to me that a lot of information that would be useful as Christians would be a lot more useful if we just understood some basic simple things. And I'm just going to start today by going over some simple things, and you know, that might be helpful, you know, if we understood some simple things. I was telling a friend of mine today to read Romans 6 and 7 and Ephesians 6. And that's talking about the battles of the mind and full armor of God and just sinful natures and stuff like that. So Romans chapter 7 for sure, and Ephesians chapter 6, much, you know, not to mention the whole Bible. It's got good stuff in it. Y'all ought to try it sometime. But the church of Corinth, the church of Ephesus, the church of Romania, the church of Galatia, all Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Romans, Timothy, 2 Timothy, all these were books that Paul wrote. Now, Paul was persecuting Christians because he grew up with some just straight up religious people. The Pharisees and scribes. He was really religious. And he came and started, and he was just like I mean, if you've ever been in a gang, which I've noticed that a lot of ex-gang members and drug addicts and things like that, people like that, are on fire Christians today because they done lived the life, and it gets into a lot there. The prodigal son. We're all prodigal on some lifestyle, regardless if you want to admit it or not. But anyway, these were books that Paul wrote to the first churches that he himself helped organize. He went out after he was found on the road to Damascus by God himself, not Jesus, but God, which is the same person, because Jesus was just in the flesh. And then after he descended on high and let the Spirit here, he then was by the right hand of the Father, and then he came back to Paul and said, "Why are you persecuting my people?" And Paul said, "Lord," with a question mark, like, "Is that you?" You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he was blinded. God took his sight, and he was blinded for like 3 days. But once we get the light to click on, we're instantly blinded. It's like when you cut the light on in the middle of the night and you tell your wife or your significant other or whoever, your mom or your dad, "Please cut off the light. You know, it's waking me up. I don't want to be awoke. I want to be asleep." We're comfortable with being asleep. That's what it was with Paul. He was comfortable doing what he was doing because he was good at doing it. He knew how to get Christians in line. "What you ain't doing right, man?" You know? And but that ain't how you do it. If it was how you do it, Christ would come with bodyguards, and he'd just come and do away with everything. And he said that I'll rebuild the temple in 3 days. I'll tear the temple down and rebuild it in 3 days. He couldn't actually tell the Pharisees and scribes that you will tear down the temple and I'll rebuild it in 3 days. They would be even more mad if he just said, "I'll tear it down and rebuild it." If he said, "You will tear it down and I'll rebuild it," that'd make them even more mad at them, because they're the ones who built that church and the temple, the building. And so until we come to know Christ, we don't know a lot anyway. We don't know our head from a hole in the ground. And until we come to the realization that Christ did walk on the earth, and he did do these things, and Paul did write these books, and Paul is a person. Corinthians isn't just something some scholar wrote in England, and that the Bible is real. You know, then we're not gonna understand it anyway. And a lot of times people just don't want to change. They're okay with being who they are. They're okay with being asleep. I didn't want to change for a long time. That's why people still don't believe me that I'm changed. That's why people still think I'm gonna fall off and I'm gonna go right back. I know who you are. I done heard rumors of a lot of people talking stuff behind my back, but you know what? They talked about Christ behind his back too. That's why he said, "I know your hearts. Why do y'all think these things? Why? You know, why are you saying these things? Why are you thinking it?" If you're thinking it, go ahead and say it. It's just being double-minded. That's just being fake. There's one thing I'm not, it's fake. My homeboy was telling me earlier, a lot of people just take your kindness for weakness. And I guess that's true, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know how else to be. I can't change that, because God's telling me just to be who I am, be this person, and He's going to use it all for His glory anyway, so it's all good. But, so that's the first thing I just wanted to say. We read the Bible, and we're like, this don't make no sense. Book of Acts, what's that? Book of Romans, who are these people? What's that mean anyway? Does it matter to me? Yeah, it matters to me. It matters to you. It should. That's why you read things and it jumps out at you and you're like, well, this book's telling me that I'm a bad person. Yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. But at the same time, we're justified in the blood of Christ. So that's why we read things and it jumps out at us and we're like, man, that's kind of wild. It just talked to me. That's why I went to church the other day, first time in a long time, and I knew that's why I didn't want to go to church, because the whole time they're just talking about me. I feel like that pastor was picking on me. Well, I mean, until we come over to the other side and we just lay our life down and we say, God, take this from me, because I can't do nothing with it. Then they're always going to talk about you, because that's what we're preaching against. That's what we're trying to teach against, is that old man, that old way of life. We got to get past that. And it can happen. My number is 601-917-8604. 601-917-8604. Hit my co-op on the low. Call me if you want to talk about this, man. If you don't, it's fine. I'm going to keep on doing this. It could be a year from now. Whenever you want to talk about it, whenever you want to, talk to somebody that understands, been there, and can go back at any minute, that's what's up. Because anything can happen at any given moment if I let my flesh get me. But it's not. And ain't nobody else going to either. So, I just want to say that. And I appreciate y'all listening to me. Man, love y'all. It's God we trust.